Welcome to More Than Mindset, the only podcast that bridges the gap between spirituality and success. Go beyond the mind with clarity and confidence coach Kim Guillory and learn how to integrate your passion to serve with your skills and experience to create a business you love. Let's get started.
Hello and welcome back to the show. Myself and my guests today are going to be talking about disarming emotional reactions and reducing anxiety to feel calm and at peace and to be able to access, which one is it? Access more joy. So my guests today are all the thing that joins us together, the unity that will come from speaking, or the alliance, is all about mind-body integration. So we've been talking to a lot of clients, a lot of my students who are experiencing anxiety at this time, especially with knowing there's lots of economical changes. Things have dramatically changed in the workplace, which is affecting their lives at home and their physical health. And that has put many people in an emotionally reactive state, which is just their humanity. Our brain is supposed to protect us from dying. And when we worry about having limited resources or any sort of dysfunction, it's on high alert. And we go into reactive mode if we don't know how to emotionally stabilize. So these are experts from inside of my company. I've worked with all of these ladies for no less than a year, some 3 years or longer. And I thought it would be a great topic for us to bring to others at these times, especially during the holidays. So Caitlin, Shar, and Jackie, I'm going to give you a moment. Do you want to just introduce yourself? I'll just call you out so that we don't have a weirdness. Caitlin, you want to kind of tell them who you are?
Yeah, so my name is Caitlin Saunier. I am based in Mandeville, Louisiana. I've been knowing Kim for a while now. And I'm an Ayurveda practitioner and an integrative nutritionist. And I help women in business free their bodies of disease. And so I do that from a holistic approach and an integrative approach where we look at the mind and the body and the soul.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. Shar, tell us about you.
Hi, Kim. Thanks for having me. My name is Shar Wilson, and I'm based out of Austin, Texas. So grateful to have been a part of your mind-body coaching program this year. Transformed my life and really just put the bow on all of the other healing modalities that I've kind of gathered certifications in the last few years. So I'm a trauma-informed healing arts practitioner, yoga, breathwork, Reiki, and sound, as well as an integrative mind-body coach. And I am, like Caitlin said, taking an integrative mind, body, soul approach, working with high achievers, very high driven type A type of people who are constantly struggling with anxiety and sleep issues, and helping them to leverage their internal fire, their drive, to make a big impact in the world, to create more joy for themselves, to use that energy to build out the life that they want and create that massive impact, instead of using that energy all in this internal struggle and friction and dissonance.
Thank you. And Jackie.
Hi, I'm Jackie Udeberg. Been a massage therapist for over 28 years now, Reiki master, integrative mind-body coach, and currently in training for intuitive healing. I help clients find freedom from food obsession, ending that cycle once and for all. So, interestingly enough, in doing intuitive healing and getting more reconnected and grounded in my body and creating that safety, that safe container within me, I was able to then see what really needed to be worked on, what was really true for me. A lot of the unconscious stories that were running underneath, I was able to access those through the grounding and intuitive piece. But then I realized when it full circle came back around, that did not stop my overeating. And I started to come back to the mind-body approach, realizing that there was a couple different things happening, but I had to retrain my system. And so as I did that, as I used the punchline approach, as I used the grounding techniques that I've learned, bringing my energy back into my body, being able to create a safe container so that I can then actually handle what's happening around me. I have the capacity now to do the hard work and not freeze. That was a huge piece for me, and I'm on the other side. And I have neutrality around food, which is a miracle because I'm 52 years old and I've been eating since I could eat. And I want to teach others how to do that. I want to teach others how to get free from that. And a really big piece for me was realizing I was actually choosing myself. For once, I was actually, when I came through that first major trigger using the punchline approach, and I had a massive emotional release behind that, I realized it was because I finally saw me and chose myself. And then I realized that was a big piece. So continue to do coaching, continue to do intuitive healing, and actively working in coaching. I want to help others get free of that cycle and find peace.
Thank you. It is like being a prisoner in your own body when you can't access control of your nervous system and the emotional reactivity of, like, it's almost like a volcano or a storm, a hurricane, like that's happening in the physical body. And we actually don't have access through the frontal cortex in order to be when we're in the middle of a crisis. And so I wanted to bring these guests on today to help the audience with, what do I do when I'm in the middle of the crises? Because as Jackie said, with, the last time when she was like, I just stopped and stayed and was with it and realized, like, I saw me for the first time in the middle of it, but without strategy or like a system, a container, an understanding, a how-to framework. How many years did all of you together, without having a framework, without having a system, without having guidance or a coach or a mentor, how many years have you been out of control or disconnected from your body? Just name out the years, Caitlin, and then Shore, and then Jackie.
21.
21.
I believe 38.
38.
I'd say 51.
That's a lot of years.
Yeah.
That's a century. And what I notice in the healing world is there's this addiction to process, like there's an addiction to healing itself. And what this has created is the belief that, like, it's not even the belief, it's the habit of the brokenness, and that we keep looking outside of ourselves. And what I believe the punchline approach has done is it's given us a framework to go inside of ourselves. It's like a course in self-mastery. So it's breaking that cycle that we have to go through some kind of, like, there's something's better than another. Like, there's this secret to healing, that there's one modality that's stronger than the others. Would y'all agree that that's what led us to have, how many degrees do we have between all of us? How many certifications? 100? Like, seriously, because we've done all of those things, thinking it was the answer. And then exactly what Jackie said, yeah, those all led to here. But then what do I do with that? Or Shar said when she came on, like, I have all of these modalities, I have all of these processes. Then what the hell do you do with it? It's like going to the grocery store, buying all these groceries, and then you just look at them on the counter and you're like, I don't have a recipe. What do I do with all this gold? Yeah. Speaking of Caitlin's language, which is food. Mm-hmm. So what I want to do for the show today is give your go-to. Like, what do you do for yourself or your client in that moment of, and I want you to give what you got. Like, imagine this is your one and only chance to get it in print. And you're like, I'm leaving it before I'm gone. And this is what I want people to know according to where I am now. Because we know that's ever changing, right? But in this moment, if there's an uncomfortable situation, maybe someone just got a diagnosis, maybe someone just found out their partner wants a divorce, or maybe a divorced couple just found out their kid's getting married and they have to go and see each other for the first time, right? Those sorts of situations. What would you suggest? Shar, I'm going to start with you. So imagine I came to you. I'm in an emotional meltdown. Maybe I don't even know about emotions and feelings. I just feel a volcano erupting in my body, pulsating in my heart and throat. Feels like there's a 50-pound weight at the bottom of my belly and an elephant sitting on my chest, feeling super anxious and a very rapidly racing mind. How could you help me?
What I teach, it's what I use personally myself and what I teach at the beginning of every single one of my yoga and breathwork classes. And it's my rendition of the power of three, which is this ability to pull yourself out of the in the moment panic attack or ensuing panic attack. So for me, the way that I do it is step one, the first of three is, when we're in that heightened emotional state, we get tunnel vision. Our breath shallows, we start to feel shaky, we're hot, maybe we start to sweat, we are losing physical control of ourselves, and we bring into tunnel vision. We maybe even have like going dark little sparkly eyes. So we want to expand our vision, we want to expand the peripheral. So the first thing I say is notice three things, explore your environment, like literally move your head around and notice and identify, vocalize three things in your environment. I see it, I hear it, I smell it. So that's the first one. Notice three things in your environment. The second one is notice, make connection with, and acknowledge three body parts. So I ask my students, physically touch a body part, and it doesn't have to be a body part that like feels really good. It's just a neutral body part, like my ear or my thumb. So touch, make connection with three body parts, acknowledge them, and thank them for how they serve you. Thank you, ears, for helping me to hear that siren coming through. Thank you, ears, for helping me to hear the birds chirping outside my door, or the beautiful music that's playing in the background that I wouldn't have noticed because I'm just in my state of panic. And then the third one is 3 deep breaths, because as a transformational breathwork coach, the fastest way to slow down time, to slow your heart rate, to calm the mind, to quiet all of the chatter that's going on is long breath. Double the length of your exhale to your inhale, maybe even hum out. So you're tapping into and activating the vagus nerve, which is turning on the rest and digest in your body. So 3 deep breaths, breathing in through the nose, filling all the way up to your lower belly, feeling the rib cage expand, and then just exhale, let it drop out, sigh, hum it out. So that's the power of 3. Notice 3 things in your environment, expand your vision. So get yourself out of tunnel vision. Notice 3 things on your body, because a lot of times we disassociate. We want to completely eject from the feeling because we believe that our body is like attacking us, when actually it's just talking to us. It's sending us signals. It's saying, pay attention to me. So we reconnect, we acknowledge, we create gratitude and a safe connection with our body. And the third thing is deep, long, intentional breath. Calms the heart, calms the mind, brings you back into center, and then you can make way better decisions.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I followed it. It felt amazing. This is going to be great for anyone to be able to come back and grab, and they can just listen to that part. They can timestamp it. And what? We have 2 more for you. So Jackie, you spoke of an incident recently where you came to this awareness and this use and this. So do you want to share what you did in that moment, since you were using information?
Yeah.
And you were integrating it in the moment, or did you want to share something else?
Well, it's funny. Something just came to me. I had an incident recently, literally And it was one of those moments, because my body just naturally, after, 51 years of freezing, I react and I freeze very, very quickly. It can happen like that. So recently I was literally sitting in the same position, with a partner of mine in intuitive healing training, and I was doing a healing. I mean, I was in the middle of giving a healing. So I am tuned in and I am tracking. And you really got to stay tuned in for that. And we're hitting something. And right as this happens, I start hearing cursing and things being thrown around in the bedroom next to me, which is my son. And he's angry about something. And my natural go-to is, oh God, what's wrong? What's going on? All of a sudden, my whole entire body just got hot. I mean, I can feel it right now as I'm talking about it. My whole entire body just got hot and I began to freeze. So for me, what I did in that moment was something that we practice in intuitive healing training. I lean back in my body. I lean back into that divine connection, that higher knowing, that channel of love and light and grace. And I leaned back into that because for me, that is a sense of safety. I am held there. And so I just leaned back into that and I just began to breathe and feel my feet. And I literally was pressing on my legs, just applying pressure to my legs to feel my body. Okay, there's my body. Here I am. I'm okay. Slowed down my breathing, just actually literally just focusing on the breath, just slowing it down. All of a sudden, that heat started to dissipate and it's almost like I just melted and opened up. And I was in that moment, then I could say, you know what? He's okay. He's an adult. He's fine. He'll figure it out. And I refocused. But it was it happened so fast. And so for me, it is really feeling my feet, using my breath, coming into my breath. Because for me, I know that anytime, let's just say a trigger is hit within us, that feeling of panic that arises in our body is just energy. And I know to breathe, to keep moving it. But I also need to tap or apply pressure to my body to know that I am safe, I am right here, and it brings me back in. And yeah, I made it through that. And I was able to literally refocus. And it wasn't like anything bad was happening, but past experience told me something bad could happen. So I reacted. I reacted like something really bad was going to happen. And it really wasn't.
Oh, you're on mute.
You're on mute, Kim.
Something very interesting. You said, I reacted, but it's actually like the neural pathways in the body, the imprint in the body reacted because you were present and you were in right. And
exactly.
So then we hear something or we see something or maybe even think something.
Yeah. That
triggers that emotional signature, which can also be called an imprint in the nervous system. It's cellular. It could be coming from the parents even. And so what I hear you saying is even being in that state of ease, it still pinged and triggered something, which is that's a great story for this particular episode because we're not really expecting it. Or
no,
it comes from, they come out of all sorts of places and ideas and things. It could be a car literally coming out in front of you on the freeway. And using the same thing, I'm coming back to shore is, it's like that stop, open, stay. It's that touch. It's the connect. It's the being. It's like, it is safe to be inside. It's safe to be here. That is not me. That reaction is not me. So powerful to be able to separate
separate ourselves from that. Thank you. Caitlin, how about you?
So most of my 21 years of experience of being out of my body brought me to where I am at now, using the science of Ayurveda and integrative nutrition and just the journey of getting back into my body. And something that I teach my clients that Ayurveda is really big on is starting your day with routines and rituals, getting into your body. It's preventative, right? And so it creates these rituals and routines creates the experience and the sensation in the body. So you can tap into that memory of sensation whenever you are in an experience where you are feeling triggered, where you are being pulled out of your body, where you are in that moment of trying to escape, right? Because it's an escape culture that we live in. Like there's so many ways to escape the experience, to escape the moment. And so I love having these routines and these ritual practices that I do every morning. So I am present in my body 90% of the time, right? There are moments where I get pulled out, but I come back into my body because I remember how it feels to be here. And this is home. You know, I've created home here for almost 18 years. And this is where I feel more comfortable. This is where I want to stay. And so preventatively, I do these practices every morning. And these practices, they can be, you can create them to be what you want, but you want to start with stimulating each one of the senses. Like you think of how you take in information. You take in information through your eyes, through your ears, through your nose, through your mouth, and through touch. So you want to stimulate those first thing every morning. And so Ayurveda has some specific practices, which I'll mention, but you can do whatever you want. And so one of the practices is stimulating the mouth. You know, you brush your teeth. Ayurveda talks about tongue scraping, which is preventative for a bunch of things that I'll get into later on a different episode. But tongue scraping, oil pulling in the mouth, right? There's some practices that you can do to stimulate that sense. For the nose, for the smell, drinking lemon water, you smell the lime, you take the lemon, you taste the lemon, you taste the lime. Putting this specific oil in your nose to stimulate your senses called nasya oil. Keeps it moist. It keeps it, you're grounded into the sense organ of the nose. The eyes, splash cold water on the face first thing in the morning, right? Remembering that sensation of what it feels like to be like fresh. So splashing water on your face in the morning. Dry brushing the skin with a dry brush, or maybe just taking your hand and just like rubbing on your skin every morning, telling yourself like it is safe to be here in this body. It is safe to be in this body. I know that something I do in the morning is I rub oil all over my body, and I really pay attention to the heart space. And I just rub here and I tell myself like it is safe to feel love. It is safe to be in this body, whatever you need. So whenever you're in a moment where you feel triggered or you feel disembodied and feel disconnected, I place my hand on my heart. And I'm just like, here I am. Here I am, because I remember that touch. So stimulating your skin in some way, shape, or form. And then a massage of the ears. A massage of the ears, or crunching, or chewing something crunchy, or humming, or chanting, something to stimulate the vocal cords so you can hear yourself. I say a chant every morning, and it's specific to the energy that I'm working on. But if I'm feeling pulled out of my body or overstimulated, I deal with a lot of auditory stimulation. So being in crowds and having a lot of people like talk at me at one time. And I have a really big family. So with the holidays coming up, I'm like, oh boy. So I'll hum to myself, and I'll usually do like a gentle rock. I get joked on a lot at home, but I'll do a little gentle rock and I'll just hum, and it like really calms my body because I'm coming back to my senses. So I start my day stimulating my 5 senses. That can look however you need it to look. And then so throughout the day, whenever I feel disconnected, I come back to those senses.
I love that. Can I say something to that?
Sure, I'm open.
No, just something, because you're talking about creating a daily routine, right? Like a discipline. So, excuse me. For me, that looks like being in meditation every morning. I'm in meditation every morning, probably anywhere between 20 and 60 minutes, depending on what I'm doing. But if I'm specifically just doing a grounding, which I do every single day, it's just literally coming back into the body, coming back into the feet, the legs, the pelvis, that sense of being heavy in your seat and coming back, literally coming back in with breath, taking up space in the pelvis, in the root chakra, in the foundation of the body, and it being home. Just like you said, it's like I come home every morning. I wake up, I do my thing, and then I come home before I go out the door. And so that has created it's like a memory, like you said, like this memory of just like, oh, home. So this safe, secure connection. I am always held safe and sound. And after doing this for over a year, every day, it is automatic. Like if I start to come out of my body, I'm able to come back to my home and ground. So it just made me think.
I feel like that is the journey, like coming back to the body, because anxiety happens a lot in the mind. It's an active mind, and that's where the energy is. So dropping down back into the body, it's like,
and knowing that you're safely held, with whatever is holding you. There's all kinds of things we can think about, but yeah.
I use Kim's technique all the time where she says, breathe in and like grab, like start to gather the thoughts, and then exhale, pull them down, drop into the body, and notice all the sensations as those kind of become, it's like a filtration system.
Yeah.
And it works in a matter of seconds.
Yeah. You're muted, Kim.
You're on mute.
There's like lots of noise going on around me. Sorry about that. Sure, I'll start with you, but I'm going to ask each of you to answer. For someone who is listening to this and, maybe they are go-getters, and they're highly driven and they really have been spending, most of their time driving in their life. I mean, just being a massive force of change and service. And so they haven't really, stopped and taken the time to understand a lot of what we're talking about, because this is the spiritual access of life itself, right? This is the spirit. A lot of it is the spiritual and energetic part, emotional part, which is not common conversation in highly achieving areas. You come from corporate, so I know you understand what I'm saying. Jackie's coming from body work. Caitlin is coming from like behavioral teaching and leading and educating and Ayurveda and yoga. So we've been in that other world. We understand what it's like to be in a school system, to be teaching, to be performing, and even a workplace like a spa where you're, following these rules. And my question is, how would you explain fourth grade language? What do you mean by out of the body? It's been mentioned several times. I talk about it a lot. I talk about imprints and escaping the body, returning to the body. But to someone who actually hasn't been in a spiritual world, how could we bring this to them in a way that it makes more sense? Shar, you want to start?
Yeah, the first thing that comes to mind for me is my partner, Justin, who he would not use the word dissociation. He doesn't know that language. But when we first met, he would talk about it was a common occurrence for him at that time, several years ago. And I've witnessed it now in person, where he has an out of body experience. Like he talks about how he's driving down the road, and ever so often, it's like he's not in the car anymore. He's off daydreaming about what happens if I accidentally drive off this cliff, or if I miss a red light and I slam into somebody. Like that's where his mind is going. And so he has left the room of his body. Or like when you see in movies where someone might be near death and the body starts to kind of float up and they're just looking down at themselves. That is the visual that comes to me when we're talking about out of out of body. We have ejected from what Caitlin was saying, the five senses. Like I'm not aware that I'm touching my hand right now. I'm not aware that I'm even standing in the room. I have lost orientation to time and space.
Mm-hmm. How does that relate to anxiety? Sure. For the person who's listening, who is having these anxious episodes, how could you bring it home?
Yeah, I think the correlation there is complete loss of control.
Mm-hmm.
The anxiety feeling from my own experience of, chronic anxiety for the majority of my life, and the coaching clients that I work with who are highly anxious and disassociated, the anxiety is I need to be able to control my external surroundings. I need to be able to control other people, the environment that I'm in, to create a sense of safety. But we've missed the most important environment, which is the internal environment. So if I can't control this, if I'm in a relationship with my body thinking that my body is actually my enemy instead of my friend, that my body is not to be trusted, that my body is attacking me, then heck yeah, I'm going to get out. Mm-hmm. I'm either fighting back, I'm resisting it, I'm repressing, suppressing, or I'm out of here. I am ejecting completely. But when we do that, instead of getting the relief that we want, we're actually losing control. And I believe that's the stem of anxiety. And that's, in trauma, they talk about the two things that most trauma victims, it's been taken away from them, is control and choice.
Yeah.
And so when I eject from my body, I have taken all of my choices away, and I have lost complete control of the most important environment, which is my internal environment.
Mm-hmm. Great. Thanks for that.
Yeah.
Jackie, I'll ask you the same question and relate it to like the binging, it's like, so when Cher's talking about like anxiety, it's like that disconnection from, but when someone is binging and overeating and the food is just going in, you're actually not present there. It's just I'm sorry, I don't want to let you the way that you would explain it. I am watching the time, by the way. So we're going to have one more question after this for those who are listening. So we've got about 10 minutes left.
Yeah. Yes. I know the reason I made that face, it's like, it's so true. When we are literally shoveling food in our mouth, like it's just this action, and it's actually a way to gain control or ground in our bodies, because when we become full, now we feel our body. So the way I see it is, and especially if you're really busy and always doing, or, you have that high powered job where you're the CEO, right? You're always thinking, everything is here. We have no sense of what's happening below. Like we have no sense. And so it's funny, because if you ask people to, let's just say, I ask in someone who's been binge eating for years, hey, next time you get a craving, stop for a second and take a breath, right? If they actually pull it off, it's this feeling of landing in your body. And that's where you get that aha of like, I didn't even know this existed. Didn't even know this was here. Didn't even know this mattered. Because I've been up here for so long that I like literally cut it off. But I personally did not realize that until, I did not do I did not pick up that food that I wanted to binge on. It was in that moment when I actually took a moment to take a deep breath and drop into my body that I realized that I was not there. So I'd say, spinning mind, right? That spinning mind, we're always up here. And yes, when we are eating, when we are binging, we're not there. We're just, the focus is all like hand to mouth. Can I get it in quick enough? And can I relieve this ungodly discomfort I'm feeling? But you may not even realize you're feeling that. I don't know if
that's
that
a
answers
great
your
point.
question.
Yeah. No, it's perfect. That is a great point where you just said what, if people could access this one moment, they, like you just did, they would get it. Because we spend so much time teaching and educating and training and learning. Like, I mean, I have been training coaches for years now. And the thing that humans have the hardest time doing is the navigating part. We do great at investigating, at grounding, at trying, like all those things. But the part that we struggle with is we don't not take the action. If we didn't do, like, it's like so much time thinking I shouldn't be doing it. Why do I do it? I wish I wouldn't do it. I wish I wouldn't want to do it. But so much time in that and very little, I'd say, I'm not even going to put a percentage on it. Very, very little do we not take the action. It's like when I give the example of the Oreo cookie and you're standing at the counter and you're doing the assessment and you're going through all the thoughts and you're going through. So it's like you think or credit this awareness, but then you still eat the damn cookie. If you didn't eat the cookie, if you didn't quit when it was uncomfortable and kept doing the thing in that moment. Caitlin and I talk about this all the time. When we stop feeling uncomfortable, we know we're in trouble because we went back into some kind of habitual routine. So Jackie, I love that you brought that home. When you don't do the thing in that moment, get some help, get a coach, get guidance, get your massage therapist or your practitioner or your yoga teacher to help you in the moment. I swear it will change your life and the trajectory of where this goes. Because we spend a lifetime studying and knowing, but it's pulling the plug on the habit in that moment. Just one time and stay 90 seconds. Yeah. So thank you for bringing that up. I love that. Caitlin, you want to bring us home with what does that mean, out of the body, and how does it relate to what you're doing with Ayurveda, behavioral coaching, integration?
Yeah, so for me, out of the body, like Shar was saying, it's a disconnect from the senses and from the sensations, and that's like, to me, that's not paying attention to what is going on and what you were even actually doing. So a lot of things that I do with behavior is people are either in the future or they're in the past. So they're constantly thinking about things that they are going to do, what's coming next, and that affects the posture, that affects the mind, that affects everything about the body, or they're thinking about the past. They're shaming themselves for what they did, what they didn't do, what they should have done. And so for me, that is out of body. You're either in the future or you're in the past, because if you're in the present, then you are paying attention to what is going on. You are actually noticing the toothbrush hit your teeth. You're smelling the lemon in the water that you're drinking. You're tasting the flavors of your food, right? That's the biggest one that I teach my clients, is actually being present with your food and tasting what is there for you. Because when you do, McDonald's don't taste the same. Yeah. So mindfulness, having your mind full of awareness of what is happening around you.
The cleanse that Caitlin does twice a year, so hard because of this. It's not like about doing a diet cleanse. It is about doing a distraction cleanse. All the things that you are distracted by that are preventing you from all of this simple awareness, it's very simple, is what you have to cut away. And wow, living in a very, active world and doing that cleanse. I don't know what your percentage is of someone who actually follows through, but I can guarantee you, if they followed through, they are still there in your presence, because it is so impactful, so powerful to actually be able to access that.
I will validate that after having just finished the cleanse.
Yeah, it's a great segue to give you the experience. So then for the next 6 months until the next cleanse comes along, you are experiencing how it feels to be in the body because you did it for 14 days.
Yeah. Jackie, let's talk about body work, massage and body work. And I noticed when I was doing massage, like, and actively in the practice, you could tell the ones who actually weren't in the body. They needed the deep tissue. They needed the trigger points. They needed that, like, have you brought together an awareness around that, around the benefits of massage in helping, like, because I think massage is like honestly one of the most healing and beautiful practices, so underrated in the world. Something that so many people could access, and it's an array of benefits. What do you want to just kind of talk on that? The being in the body or out of the body, and then because every one of you touched on the point of touch,
yeah,
as it being one of the practices to bring you home. So how would you advocate massage?
It's very interesting, like working with people, let's say sometimes I'll bring in breath, especially if there's an area that's really congested and very tight, we'll bring in breath as I'm working that area. And it's amazing. People can't breathe. It might be like, that's the breath. It's not coming, and when I say, okay, now on that inhale, bring your breath all the way up and try to push my fingers out. Let's say I'm doing trigger point work, right? And I'm holding the trigger point. Try to push my finger out. I mean, they struggle, but then it comes through, right? And I said, do you feel that difference? How the breath moves through the whole body? They're like, whoa, like, I didn't even realize I had all that space. Or the client that says, I want deep tissue, go as deep as you can go. You can't hurt me. And you're going deep and they're not feeling it. They're like, you could go deeper. And you're like, I mean, you got the point of your elbow in them and they're like, you can go deeper. And then I go, they have no idea they're not in their bodies. So I actually pull back and then I have them use their breath. And I'm like, can you feel it now? And typically they can. So that's the thing I see. Or people that keep coming back with the same stuff over and over again. That's just holding, it's like they're determined to, like, I don't know, get it out of there. But I mean, they've been coming for like 3 years and it's still there. I'm like, I want to address this in a different way. It just may not be just about physical issues. But
I love that. That's the connection, guys, between me and the massage therapist. Found Jackie in the middle of the night on Facebook. In this exact conversation. How can massage therapy help their clients access more of the mental, emotional aspects rather than just the physical? Like, what else is? She's like, there's got to be something else. And I was like, yeah, absolutely. Here, I think it actually started off with you coming to do, like I was talking about doing massages at our retreats, because we do bring in body work, we bring in food, yoga, so it's like the movement, the breath work. So I love that you say that. I noticed in massage school, I noticed it. The person that was most disconnected and ended up being my client that I trained with. And it was very much like that. And then I started, because it was in my awareness, I started seeing it, noticing it. And it's really one of the reasons I love body work, massage, and going to Shore and Caitlin. It's also the reason that I love yoga and, that the other part. So what would you say, Shore, for the person, the practitioner who is like physically in the physically trying to push through it and isn't getting access to that? How does that show up in yoga for you? We know with Caitlin, it shows up in the cleanse with them actually not following through with self-care.
I think how it can show up in yoga is their attention and intention in yoga. And it played out in my life because I came from like sports and physical and weightlifting and like marathon running. And yoga is a lifestyle. It means to yoke, to bring together mind, body, soul. But we really kind of misunderstand yoga when all we look at is it's just another workout. Mm-hmm. This is what I do on my rest day, because that's how I used to use yoga. I stumbled into yoga back in 2012 from doing P90X, and Tony Horton was the yoga teacher. I would not recommend it. But
teacher,
he was shouting at me and he's like, so it was, for me, yoga was like, oh, that's my rest day workout. And fast forward 11 years later, I'm like, no, yoga is my life. Uh-huh. So what I see in class, what I notice is, especially when it's people who are coming more from the fitness realm, and just because you're working out and you're like training does not mean that you're connected to your body. For me, my relationship to my body when I was doing heavier weightlifting and marathons and triathlons and soccer and football and all that stuff, it was my body was just it was just a tool. Like I did not have a allyship with my body. I did not have a partnership or a friendship with my body. I punished my body often. And I looked at my body as something that was either attacking me or betraying me. Like it was not an allyship.
Mhm.
So when you come to yoga from that perspective of my body is just a tool because I'm trying to lose weight, I need to be more flexible. I'm trying to injury prevention, which is all good and well. But I see it in yoga classes with folks who are like, they're so disconnected from their body that they will push themselves into a pose and potentially injure themselves because they're not connected with themselves. They're not connected with their sensations. They're not connected with their capacity. They're looking around the room and doing what, you teach us is the root of all suffering, which is judgment and comparison. They're looking at the person in the room who has the best dancer's pose and they're like, by God, I'm doing that pose. I am getting my toe over my head. So they're very disconnected from the intention of yoking together mind, body, and soul in yoga. It's just another way to abuse their body.
So I hate to stop this. I could go for another hour, but we are at time and we do have an e-school call following. So I'm just going to ask one question, which it's just going to be a one sentence statement from each of you. And then we'll hop out of here. And that is, I'll lead with it, by the way. And it's like, where were you when you first found that moment of, like, I remember I was at a yoga retreat and I was sitting on the mat and I am home. I wrote, I am home. I am home. Like it was like such a huge moment of realizing that I wasn't before. Have any of you had that moment? Like, do you remember where you were? Like it could have been yesterday, and because it's just moments of time. Go ahead, Caitlin. Just, is there a moment you can remember specifically and still feel it?
I was eating. And I took a bite of the food and it was just like, it was almost like the angels were just like, ah, and it was something I eat all the time. It was a banana with almond butter on it, something I eat all the time. And I was like, oh my gosh, this tastes so good. This feels so good. This is so satisfying. Yeah, I was eating a banana with almond butter.
It would lead to what you do. Kate, how about you, Shar?
Yeah, it was about a year ago, and it wasn't a visceral moment experience. It was a reminder. And it is this photo that's sitting in my bathroom, which you can't see all that well, but it's a quote by Nayyirah Waheed. And it's just this representation of this woman who is so lovingly comfortable in her body. My best friend gave this to me, I think last Christmas. And the quote is, "And I said to my body softly, I want to be your friend. It took a long breath and replied, I have been waiting my whole life for this." And the first time I saw this picture and that quote, everything became very clear to me. Like that is what I have been longing for 40 years of my life. And I keep coming back to this. It's an allyship. It's a friendship. Mm-hmm. And for me, learning about the nervous system and how it supports us was the logical click in my head of, oh, my body has been my friend and partner and ally and champion my entire life. I have not been.
All right, Jackie.
Well said.
The finish line. 1 second, one moment. No, actually.
Yeah, in all reality, 51 years later, right? I'm in that moment I'm in driving in the car, craving a Starbucks Christmas drink with all the sparkly pretty stuff on it, and I can taste it, I can smell it, I can feel it go down my throat, but I don't do it. And then I come through that and I'm driving home. I made it through, have that somatic release of just, emotional release where I'm shaking and crying. I have no idea why, but I just know to breathe, move the energy through, just keep moving it through. And on the other side of that, I chose me. And that was the day the food became neutral.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know I existed.
Such a great way to end. You know, I'm so grateful to have the framework that no matter where you find yourself at life, at any time, any moment, any challenge, that we can find exactly where we are in those 5 steps. And it's so simple and so profound. I want to thank you all for coming today. Sorry for the halt, but we gotta get out of here. And I will link everyone's information below. You guys can find us in the More Than Mindset Facebook group, in Self-Healing Masters, as integrative mind body coaches. So there's these girls, ladies, and more. All right, guys, have a great week.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of More Than Mindset.